Get ready.
It's the second review. It wasn't ready.
I'm
It's
talking.
pointless. Why, hello there. Good evening. For the second time. It's Tearful Review number 2, baby. I'm really getting motivated to work on these. School's finally over. My finals are done. I can just kick back, relax, and enjoy the beautiful narratives of the gaming world. Honestly, that first review was such a fun time to make. And I'm just so excited to put my opinion out onto the internet, and I hope that you guys are enjoying it. Today we got an interesting one. Psychosis, fear, abuse, and wildly confusing game design that's intentionally built to alienate the player from the world around them. Quite the perspective game review. I just want to preface this whole review by saying, if you have suffered from mental illness as it is portrayed within this game, those illnesses primarily being dissociative identity disorder and psychosis, I empathize with you, and I'm sorry, this review might be a little difficult for you to watch. I discuss the intricacies of the human mind, and how Senua's frail psyche breaks over and over again under the weight of her abuse. It's moving, yes, but also very scary. These sensitive topics can genuinely be a little too difficult to listen to. If that's the case, I just implore you to subscribe, watch my previous video on Ori 2. I'm making another one on God of War and father-son relationships in a week or two, so maybe catch that as well. These reviews are going to be sad, but they don't deal with abuse or a broken, fractured mind. They deal more with loss and depression and how to build meaningful relationships with the ones you love. For all of you who struggle or have fought against mental ailments, you can edit this link. It's in the description. Ninja Theory, the developers of Hellblade, have kindly provided it for people who need it. Just know you're a good person and you deserve help. Have a wonderful day. Alright, quite the serious note to start out with. But firstly, a spoiler warning. I left this out of the Ori review, but Hellblade is purely a story game, with narrative being the primary focus. I'll spoil as much as I need to get the points across, so just go play it. I promise you'll enjoy it. It's 7 hours, you can do it in 1 to 2 days. It's like $30. This game is worth the experience. It'll leave you rocking in your chair for a while. Okay, to begin, I'd like to explain key gameplay concepts that influence the story, so I can alleviate any confusion. The combat in Hellblade doesn't really need to be complex, and it isn't. A light and heavy attack, parries, dodges, blocks, it's basic, sure, but there is a thematic beauty in its simplicity. It does what it needs to, and is not obtrusive in any way. Movement restriction hurts the game, though. Hellblade does throw hordes upon hordes of enemies at you, making a lack of freedom bothersome to handle. Counteracting large groups becomes a chore when the game forces single enemy focus. This lack of freedom is a barrier for creative move combos, and it really decreases the player's ability to make meaningful decisions. But, luckily, the combat enhances the story with its colorful presentation. I found myself going through the game and finding new animations for certain moves and combos constantly. They're wonderfully motion captured, and they look really badass. I'm glad that someone's willing to do justice to just the look and feel of the combat. Of course, semblance of control is always intended during video game combat, but that's all it really is. It's a semblance of power, because the minute the real game begins, the control is in the hands of Senua, and the tale her mind weaves for you. It's beautiful. I felt freedom, interestingly, in the puzzle structure. While one sole solution exists, the exploration of the limited game area tests your mind and Senua's, linking you together. To determine the key to the puzzle, you must rework yours and hers. To determine the key to the puzzle, you must rework your own perception of the world around you. That's the key gameplay element that feeds the story, especially in the puzzles. Perception and the alterations of it. Senua has no concrete definition of actuality, and to incorporate that into gameplay, the developers use perspective-changing objects and world pieces. This system melts away any solidity. Everything feels floaty, possibly imaginary. But that's intentional. Ninja Theory wants to dissolve away any feeling of personal power or autonomy. Senua has no autonomy within her own mind, and this connects you to her. Her fear of the darkness drives her. That transitions wonderfully into my first topic of 3 within this video. We'll begin with fear, then psychosis, and finally, the main aggressor in Senua's life, abuse. Fear. Are you scared
so
yet?
scary.
You couldn't possibly be scared.
Oh,
You've
they're
scared them
scared.
away already.
You're not ready again.
You need to be ready.
Be ready.
Let's talk about fear. The fear that surrounds Senua's mindscape drips off her every word and action. It is constantly referenced as an otherworldly force, far more powerful than Senua herself. Light bleeds from her vision during cutscenes, as if it closes in slowly, the fear enveloping her soul. Here's the poetic thing. The faked permadeath that Ninja Theory scares players away with to start the game is actually genius. High-key, intelligent, quality game design. When the game released, players were first greeted with this scary message. And inevitably, they all looked to their phones to see the validity of this permanent spread of the darkness. They were all informed by the media that it was fake and a lie. But the media are... well, the media are freaking idiots. They all thought that this fakeness of the permadeath was a bad thing. See, fear is rooted within our minds. Flinching at fast movements, running from spiders and snakes, hating the dark. In a surprise turn of events, all of these fears are exceedingly common, and a little irrational. The pain, the darkness, the fear, it resides in Senua's mind. It is completely and entirely separated, external from the real world. That's why there's no true permadeath. For 30 seconds, just 30 seconds is all it takes, before the player undoubtedly looked up the reality, there was true fear of the darkness that could creep into their body. That's what necessitates research, looking up whether it's true. Magically, we are transported into Senua's perspective. We feel her fear, her danger, imminent. The death. But fear is not always explicit in this game. It secretively lurks around that corner we all have. The place in our minds we never go. People talk about safe spaces in their minds all the time. Sure, it's great to have one, and it's very important, but no one talks about the unsafe space. Somewhere you never go. The place you put all your horrible memories, archived away, because fear is easier when it's not staring directly at you. When it's on the periphery. That's often the place Hellblade tells you to go. It implores you to look at your peripheral vision, to find the thing you never want to look directly at. There's an incredible section in Hellblade where you are completely blind. You see vague outlines, you're guided by sound, and as you walk, monsters lurk in the darkness. You don't see them, but you don't really want to. Senua continues forward, breathing audibly, and each breath seems to give away your position, as if the slightest wrong move into the darkness could be the end. This instills a dangerous sense of fear and urgency. It's a cocktail of potent emotional game design. To fear the thing you cannot see is to fear fear itself.
You can stand on the edge, pretend it's going to be okay, but you know that death is near.
Psychosis. It's our
talk to
They were ready to start. Let's talk about the voices in Senua's head. Fear doesn't inspire tears. It doesn't make my heart break or strain my emotions. It heightens my senses. It raises my body heat. It makes me hyperventilate, but it won't make me tear up. But Hellblade is not a one-note game. It knows its magic, and that magic resides in the very first scene. The head, the skull that sits on Senua's hip,
The river of knives
waiting,
across which
watching.
lies the halls of hell.
It's a symbol, if nothing else,
Place they
a
call
representation of the loss in
her
Senua's life. With the death of Dillion, Senua is plunged deeper and deeper into her mental ailments. Loss and pain she feels is built from the foundation of her broken mind. Not only that, but the voices constantly fighting in her head, the narration that explains Senua's innermost thoughts, the pain that she feels, and the confusion constantly imparted upon her. There are two portions of Senua's loss that fit like puzzle pieces together. I could go over them individually, but I think they are so poetic when situated together. The death of Senua's mother and her lover Dillion, her first protector and her last protector. They act as teachers, guides, and defenders. The logic that cuts through the damaging and painful mental barrage upon her psyche from the voices within her head. They are Senua's shields from the dangerous world around her. This game powerfully utilizes and represents the illness. The hints in the form of voices, the misdirection and confusion they can instill directly after assisting you. The same voice who helps may implore surrender and death minutes later. The wildly confusing nature of Psychosis lets the game twist perception of what is safe and what is wrong, what is right and what is deadly. You never know when a voice is trying to manipulate you or protect you. But I know one thing as a reviewer. Anytime a game gets you to question its intentions, it has succeeded in the goal of uncertainty. Rather than playing with aspects of human functionality or harming the rational parts of our brain, it seeks out and preys upon heightened emotion, so as to sever the connection from humans to the real world. Senua's psychosis is rooted in her schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder. The voices in her head dissuade her from anything solid, anything natural. She second-guesses her every move because the voices disconnect her from the truth. It's an amazing design choice to make many of the characters Senua hallucinates into real-world videos, captured with a camera. It makes them so different from everything else on screen that they truly feel like constructs of her mind, illusions. A huge part of Psychosis is hallucinogenic episodes, so it's a perfectly fitting game design choice. To completely separate the medium, the base medium of the people in her mind, making them not only metaphorically removed, but also quite literally removed from the game world. They do this for characters like Druth, the soothsayer. He weaves the Nordic narrative for Senua. And Shadow, the dark and foreboding evil that lurks in Senua's mind, telling her to fear the gods. Dillion, standing by and protecting Senua, is still removed, even if he is a force of good. It truly feels like the world of Hellblade could exist completely within Senua's mind. So much of the tale resides in illusion that, by the conclusion, I'm left wondering what was real and what wasn't. What an accurate way to show off Psychosis to the uninformed eye. Lack of consistent reality is one of the key pieces of the illness. A complete uncertainty over what exists in the natural world and what is complete fiction. Senua is trapped. To escape the hell that is her mind, she must let go of her voices, the things that haunt her, Shadow, the dangerous. But if she lets them go, she lets go of Dillion, her mother, Druth, all the people who guide her, who are dead but live on in her mind's eye. That's the true sadness. To rid herself of evil, good must die as well. But Eventually, she commits to purging the evil. So, why? Who is the evil she wishes to purge? Who is the shadow? Abuse.
You will feel the pain.
It's
I
my
wish
choice,
me.
not yours.
You're
Senua's abuse. Abuse is all too common. It happens between people you know, people you love, family, friends. Worse still, it's often recognized too late. The stress and pain and permanent damage have already insidiously woven into your mind until you don't know who you are without it. Worse, it can interlock into your life. It can become your routine. You can become accustomed to it, so that when it happens to others, you don't notice. You don't say a word. Abuse can quite literally turn you into an accomplice to your own pain. It's the greatest danger of building a relationship with anyone. You just have to hope that your friend won't gaslight you when they see the opportunity. That a parent won't hurt you just because they have the power to. A partner could use you when they feel like it, and worst of all, it might go under the radar. You might not understand it or see it at all. Senua doesn't know. She becomes an accomplice. And it's all from the voice of one man, Shadow. The game builds this character slowly. He's the voice who laughs at her, who always tells her to go back. He consistently keeps her from saving the man she loves, Dillion. That's the first abusive tactic he uses: isolation. He tries and often succeeds in making Senua feel small. He hurts her by telling her whatever she does, whatever she is doing, is completely pointless. He reminds her that Dillion is lost forever. Shadow is the darkness who creeps up her arm, who instills fear and says that she will die if he reaches her head. And using the very nature of his position within her mind, he gaslights her, accelerating and accentuating her psychosis till she truly believes she has gone insane, that the darkness has taken over her mind completely. I had a moment of realization during the game. During the quest, this whole time, you wanted to bring back Dillion, to plead with Hela, the goddess of death, so she would return your loved one to you. The final scene is where all is revealed, and we learn who Shadow is. He is Senua's father, a religious zealot who believed that his wife and daughter, both affected by dissociative identity disorder, were speakers of the words of death, that the gods had cursed them. He burned Senua's mother on a pyre, and long after his death, the emotional and physical abuse he inflicted upon Senua remains. Shadow is his voice, the words that speak to her. His abuse haunts her constantly. The abuse that still guides her actions, that keeps her second-guessing. All the control, all the pain created by her father. Her illness is not inherently malicious, but the introduction of his abuse makes it the most dangerous thing in the world. I think this is the best iteration of a character reveal ever. It's hinted and could have been guessed, but truly, until the reveal, I had no idea. It's so beautifully poignant and painful. It hurts and burns like a hot knife to my heart. This game spent 7 hours building empathic connections between Senua and I, and forging an emotional bond, and the final payoff is agonization. I wholly feel the hate, anger, and pain that Senua reacts with when her father confronts her. I wholly feel the motivation to find Dillion, to bring him back, and to fight Hela on the Bridge of Death. You see, in the final battle, Senua is forced to let Dillion go, to remove her father, the abuse from her mind. She must remove everything. All of the death mixed with the happiness and protection. Gone. Letting go completely. Complete unattachment to the physical world. Senua lets go the abuse, the love, and falls open-armed into the abyss. And that is Senua's sacrifice.
Never leaves us. It is always there, waiting to be seen again.